Hello and welcome to episode 41 of the Weighing Room, sponsored by 888 Sport, where the three of us will be back previewing a superb 7 live races across Saturday afternoon on ITV this week. Frankie's back from Croatia this week to join us, and as ever, Paul Callaghan as well, with the three of us going through this week's podcast. Frankie, good holiday?
Yeah, great holiday. It was one of those where you need a holiday from a holiday, to be honest. It was a group of lads that hadn't been together in a while, so we got 5 of us together and gave it a good whack over the weekend. But no, it was good fun, and to be honest, timed it nicely because back for York, so a great 2 weeks.
Oh, good stuff. And Paul, you had a good week?
Yeah, great week. So looking forward to the weekend's racing. Yeah, after saying how well I did on last Saturday's pod the week before, I'm saying nothing this week. But I'm just happy I'm here.
Well, as I said at the top of the show, we're going to be going through 7 live races on ITV this week, and they consist of the last of the fourth meeting from York's final day of the Ebor meeting, and also we've got two live races from Sandown, with both of them being Group 3 action. Before we get going, you can take advantage of 888 Sports' superb offer they have running at the moment, where you bet £10 on racing, you can get back £45 in free bets using the promo code HR45 when signing up. Terms and conditions do apply, so make sure you check them before getting involved, but it's a great offer to get stuck into ahead of this weekend's racing. Right then, gents, with all that out of the way, we'll get stuck in. And the first race at York on Saturday is the 150 Group 3. Sky Bet and Symphony Group 3 Strengths Stakes. Frankie, we'll give you the honour this week. Who do you like?
I texted you before, didn't I, lads, and said I was scratching my head. And I still am, to be honest. This is an impossible race, and I went backwards and forwards on a few. The 2 were probably Bashkarova and the favourite, Mighty Ulysses. And I'm going to stick with the favourite. That's St James's Palace Stakes, form 5th in that. And you know, you've got some of the best horses in that race. Beat Alfela comfortably, who runs in this. I can't see that form being reversed myself. And, you know, another markup on that bit of form is Alfela did go on to win next time out and had Mary's Diamond in behind, who also goes in this race at a big price. So there's a couple in here with a bit of kind of intertwined form, and I just think that Mighty Ulysses should come out on top, and we may not have seen the best of that horse yet either. So I'm going to stick with the favourite in a bit of a head scratcher to start.
Yeah, it is a tough one, and obviously when we were all looking through and you texting that, I was doing exactly the same, because Mighty Ulysses has been a horse that I've been backing all season long, but I have jumped off him this time, and I've gone for a bit of a value punt in this one. Generally, you can get around 10, 12s, 14s at the moment when we're recording on Thursday afternoon. And it's Sunny Liston for Charlie Hills that I've gone for. Made his debut as a juvenile last term. He got off the mark in quite emphatic fashion at Sandown, saw off Dukedom for the Gosdens by close to 6 lengths. He's returned this term. He was 4th in the listed Fielden Stakes that was won by Iden over 9 furlongs. Iden then went on to perform really well in the 2,000 guineas. He then went up in trip to the listed D Stakes at Chester, where he chased home Star of India, who's a nice horse for Aidan O'Brien, and also Cresta, and was only behind Cresta by a short head. He then went up to 12 furlongs in the Derby. Look, I thought that was a very strange move, because if anything, when he got stepped up, I thought the next step was to step him back down to a mile. Going up to 12 furlongs, it didn't work. He beat 2 home in the Derby. And next time out, I think Charlie Hills sort of got the message with this horse, drop it back down to a mile. And he was a very, very good third at Goodwood last time out in the Group 3 Bonham Thoroughbred Stakes. All the favourites in that race, like Chequered Challenge, Berkshire Shadow and Bayside Boy, all got beaten very heavily and ran no race really. So how good the form is, I don't know. And that's maybe why it's 14-1 in this race. But I thought the way Sunny Liston ran that day, I thought was brilliant. Came off the pace, just didn't have enough to win. He can only going to go and improve. And racing over the mile again, he's still very unexposed at this trip. And I thought the 14-1 was a generous enough price to go after him with. So Sunny Liston for me in the opener. Paul, for yourself?
I've gone with Bashkarova, who ran a funny race in the Duke of Cambridge Stakes at Ascot last time out, when eventually finishing 5th to 7. But she ran out a good winner of a Group 3 contest at Epsom the time before that. she can be tricky leaving the stalls. I think that's where the problem started in the Duke of Cambridge at Ascot last time out. She was slow away leaving the stalls. She ducked left just after leaving the gates. But I think if she behaves, I think Bashgrove will be buying there.
Yeah, it's a really interesting race, isn't it, to start us off? And we've all come up with 3 different opinions. I know, Frankie, you mentioned Bashrakova, but it's a really, really tough one to start us off. And to be honest, it doesn't get any easier, does it? Sandown next we're going to go to, and they host 2 live races on ITV this weekend. The first of them is the 205 Group 3 Atalanta Stakes. Paul, talk us through your selection in this one.
Oh, yeah, I've gone Fontaine, just purely because Fontaine has had a couple of more runs, a bit more battle hardened than a few of the others. Like Laurel was, I think, his favourite at the moment for Rob Havlin and John and Teddy Gosden, but I've gone with Fontaine, who was 4th of 8 in the Nassau Stakes behind Nashwa when last seen. Did well to win at York the time before that, and I think should find life easier here than that of in the Nassau when last seen. So it's Fontaine for Kevin Ryan and Andrea Tseni for me.
Yeah, it's definitely calmer waters. This, obviously, the run behind Nashwa wasn't bad at all. Lilac Road obviously runs at York. We're recording before Lilac Road goes on and runs, so we don't know how that form will pan out. But yeah, definitely calmer waters, and definitely has got a big chance. Frankie, for yourself in this one?
Same boat for similar reasons, to be honest. Just kind of feels the safe bet. And through Fontaine's form, and it reads 3rd, 2nd, 2nd, 1st, and 4th, in the mix every time in good races as well. And that most recent 4th at Goodwood in the Nassau Stakes is, as we said, probably a better race than this. There might be one in here really unexposed that comes in and beats Fontaine. It's a bit of a boring bet, and I don't know what it would be priced up at right now. But if you could get a place bet in the top 3 near to even money, I think that would be how I'd play this, because I'd say Fontaine will be up there. But whether or not there's an unexposed one in here that's too good, we don't really know.
So yeah, 2 for Fontaine. I think he's definitely got a big chance. But I've gone elsewhere. I've gone with Grand Dam, and this is the horse I've tipped up before. Tipped up last time when it won, and I'm sticking by her once again. Her win over course and distance last time out, I think if she improves slightly on that, I think she's tough to beat. I know she's going up from listed into Group 3 company, but I think this horse is good enough to probably go on and win Group 2s. Maybe not a Group 1 horse, but definitely Group 2. And up to a Group 3, I think she'll still have enough. 3-year-old daughter of Lope de Vega. Been 4 times, today. And on her debut, she was just so taking. She went on to beat Mukadama and Eternal Pearl. Eternal Pearl's come out and obviously won races over in France, and also went very close at Goodwood as well. She was then sent to York in the listed Oak Farm Philly Stakes. She was beaten by the Kevin Ryan train Fontaine. Look, that form for me back then when she'd only had 2 runs, I think she reverses at this time personally for me. I know Fontaine's improving as well, but I also think Grand Dam is. And for me, I think that the reason why Grand Dam didn't win that day was down to jockey error. I know it's very hard, very easy to blame a jockey, and we don't really like doing it on this podcast, but I thought Frankie that day didn't give her the best of rides personally. And I think if she was given a better ride, she should have won that, and she wouldn't have had that blemish against Fontaine. But there we go. Upped in class, obviously, to the Coronation Stakes. Royal Ascot, she ran no race at all. She beat 1 home. Bit of a blip for her, I think. And then back into much calmer waters last time out, over the course and distance in that listed Coral Distaff. She won very easily. Oscula was back in 2nd that day. That horse has gone on to be absolutely brilliant for George Bowie, winning Group 3s and running really, really well in good company. I just thought she was a big player again, and I thought she'd be tough to beat, improving off her last run. But look, the form with her and Fontaine, and if Laurel could just be a bit of a freak for John and Thady Gosden, couldn't she? So they have 2 in the race. I've gone for the outsider of the 2, but we'll have to see on the day. But yeah, it's a cracking race to open up at Sandown. So another tricky event from York that we're going to cover is the 1 mile 6 furlong, a valuable Melrose handicap. And you're almost looking for horses in this that are either well handicapped or group horses in handicap company. Frankie, who did you come down on this one?
Nusret is going to be, or Nusret, I'm not quite sure how you say that, but it's going to be my selection. Another real consistent performer. You read the form, 4th, 2nd, 3rd, 2nd, and a most recent 1st. And with each run has been improving. Not necessarily a horse that has had some top class, noticeable names in front or behind of him, but just very steady, improving with every run. And the most recent run, if you watch that back, I'm just going to check now, 1 3/4 lengths doesn't do it justice. It was done so easily that day. And I think that Joseph Bryan could have one well handicapped. The fact that he's brought it over says a little something. The fact there's a claimer on board probably means that they're having a go in this handicap, and carrying only 8-12, I think's got to be in with a chance. So I'm hoping for more than what we've seen, but it wouldn't be the biggest surprise.
Yeah, especially with a £3 claim on currently around the general 10-12 to 1 mark. This course could be, like I said, you need either a group or so well handicapped, and this could be very well handicapped. For Joseph O'Brien to bring this over into a race like this, it is a valuable handicap, and he's going up in trip, isn't he, from his last run. He could just be way better than his mark of 91, couldn't he? So yeah, Nuz right around the 12 to 1 mark. Yeah, solid selection. Paul, for yourself?
I've gone with the well-bred Wild Crusade from the Charlie Appleby stable, who's 3 wins from 6 starts, won a 3-run race at Ascot when last seen, was a beaten favourite at York 2 starts back when finishing second behind the Carl Burke trained Al Kareem. Cheek Pieces Go On is one of 2 runners for the stable for the Charlie Appleby and Godolphin combination. Is the choice of William Buick. Cheek Pieces Go On. I think there's more to come, and it's Wild Crusade for me.
So yeah, looking at that, well, official rating of 102. He's going into the group race category, isn't he? If he goes on to win this, he will have to be contesting better races than this handicap. I've gone for the different approach where Frankie's probably gone, and I think this could be one of my strongest bets of the week, lads. With Solcombe, the 92, current around 92 favourite. I think this horse should be much shorter. I think we'll go off about 3 to 1. I think the money will plough in. I hope to see it does, because I've backed it at bigger prices. But making his debut last term, needed the experience massively. It was a similar turn of events at the start of this year, with 2 average efforts in maiden and novice stakes over 10 furlongs. The key to this horse is being moved up in trip. He was moved up to 1 mile 4 at Haydock 3 starts ago. He got off the mark on handicap debut, very taking style. Then off £6 higher at Ascot, made it back-to-back wins, got going late on that day, showing that he just needs, the further he goes, the better he is. He was well back last time out at Goodwood. He was an unlucky loser, I thought. If you watch that back, he caught the eye massively, coming from last and just absolutely flying home, and wasn't beaten much by Secret State. Secret State's obviously come out, finished second in the Great Voltager. I just think off what, £2 higher? At a mark of 83, this horse has got much more potential in him. I think he'll be in the high 90s. It's a bold statement, but I just think he's got so much in hand in this race. And I think he's a massive bet at 92 currently. I just can't see him going off this price on the day. So Solcombe for me in that one. So Sandown's final event on the ITV card is the Group 3 Solario Stakes over 7 furlongs. At the anti-post stage, we had horses like Naval Power in here. They aren't running. So it is a bit of a weaker affair than we've normally seen. But Paul, we'll go with you on this. Who do you fancy?
The Foxes gets a tentative nod here from the Andrew Balling stable. Andrea Zenny takes the mount, and the Foxes won, despite racing keenly at Goodwood last time out, was 9-13 in the Chesham 2 starts ago. This is only his 4th start here. The Yards horses continue to improve with each run. There should be plenty of pace on here with the Charlie and Mark Johnson trained Dornoch Castle. So the Foxes gets the tentative nod to follow up that last time out success.
Frankie, for yourself?
It's a funny one, isn't it? As you look through unofficial ratings, the further you get down the market, the higher their ratings go, although some of them haven't earned their official rating yet. Silver Knot would be mine. I'm guessing for anyone that fancies this for similar reasons, at Newbury, the 1st, 2nd and 3rd have all come out and won. Chaldine, who won that race, has actually gone and won a Group 3. And yeah, the other 2, 2nd and 3rd have both gone out and won as well. I quite like the fact that the horse went off odds on, didn't win, and then they've given it a little spin on the all-weather where it won easily, and then hopefully can come back and do the business back on turf. So Silver Knot, but there's not a whole lot to go on in these races, is there? So it would be a tentative vote, as Paul said, but for Silver Knot.
Frankie, I couldn't say it any better myself. Everything you just said there, I completely agree with. Silver Knot for me, for all the reasons you've just said. The win of Chaldine earlier on this week at York was obviously showing how much that horse improved. I think Silver Knot can improve to maybe not a similar level, but somewhere in and around it. And obviously that form of that race with the second and third winning, he's with a race with not a lot to go off. I think that stands out as a piece of form that I like in this one, and silver not for myself in this one. So back over to York, and one of their feature events on the afternoon is the 3 o'clock Sky Bet City of York Stakes Group 2 event. Frankie, talk us through your selection in this one.
Yeah, tricky one. One I'm kind of just hoping for a bit of each way value in, really. I've gone for Art Power, most recent fourth to Creative Force, which stacks up quite well considering there's a couple of these towards the top of the market that have also finished in behind Creative Force by similar amount of lengths. And that day, Art Power, was right on the near side, kind of isolated, and still ran a decent enough race. And at 12s, I can't see why such a bigger price than some of those towards the top of the market. Before that, ran a great race, a Group 3 success at the Curragh, and has just looked fairly solid. Tim Easterby knows how to get him winning at York, although this horse doesn't have the best York form, if I'm honest, looking through it. But I'd like to just throw that in there as another plus point to give me a bit of backup. But yeah, I like that most recent run, and the horse has done nothing wrong. The last 3 starts have all been solid enough in very good company. So I just think 12 is overpriced and should be there or thereabouts for maybe a bit of place money.
Yeah, off the best of his 4 and 12s is definitely overpriced. He maybe just factored in that it's his first run of the season, and maybe might need the run. But as you say, Tim Easterby knows how to get horses bang on for their first run. So yeah, 12s might be a bit of value if running to back form. Paul, in this one?
Yeah, well, this was tricky now. As far as I love a good William Haggis horse, and I also love a good Andrew Balling runner as well. So, and it's the team Balling that I've come down on the side with Sandrine in this one, who made it 4 victories from 9 starts when taking the Group 2 Lennox Stakes at Goodwood last time out. Only previous visit to York, she finished second in the Group 2 Louder Stakes. That was only a 4th start, and I think that there should be more to come. I'm going to go with Sandrine here. I think I would definitely wouldn't be investing in it at the prices, but Dr. Zenf, I'm seeing round about 33-1, was held in really high regard, won on racecourse debut, and then was sent off favourite, was a beaten favourite in a group contest next time out. But I know Dr. Zenf was held in really high regard in his early days. So he'd be I wouldn't be surprised if he outran his odds. He's around about 33-1. But for betting purposes, I'm going to side with Sandrine.
Yeah, this was a tricky one, wasn't it? Because I'm also a huge fan of Andrew Balding. But you know where I lie, lads. I love William Haggis. I absolutely love William Haggis. And I've had to give another chance to Sacred, because Sacred's become a bit of a cliff horse for me. When she won in the Hungerford Stakes, I backed her, and I've backed her ever since. And I don't think she's run quite to the same level of that. But on a going day, she's very, very difficult to beat. Even though she's thrown in some great races, finishing second by short heads, and sometimes not getting the job done. And I hope that doesn't happen here. But I'm looking at with a top price of 4-1. I'm seeing at the moment. It's generally around 11-4, 10-3. With most bookies, but I'm seeing a standout price of 4-1 here, and I think that is crazy for Sacred if she runs to the level she can. Obviously, as a 2-year-old, she was second in the Group 2 Queen Mary Stakes. She was also second at this meeting 2 years ago in the Group 2 Louder Stakes, which is top class form. As a 3-year-old, she got back to form in a big way. Really, she went on to win the Nell Gwynn Stakes, and then obviously the Group 2 Hungerford Stakes was one of the best runs I've seen from her. This season she's run twice. She's finished 5th on both occasions. Once at Ascot in the Platinum Jubilee, where if you actually look at the race, she came from near the back of the field, absolutely flew home, looking like she wanted 7 furlongs and didn't lose by much, but the race was gone. And then at Goodwood, I was slightly disappointed, and she does have to reverse that form with Sandrine. But I was slightly disappointed because I thought getting back to 7 furlongs is exactly what she needs. I think she's better than that. I'm going to give her another chance. And if you can get a top price of 4-1, I think that could be a bit of value. So yeah, I'm probably going to give a last chance to Sacred, and if she doesn't win, I'll have to jump off. But I hope she does win. So Sacred for me in that one. So the penultimate event from York on ITV this Saturday is the big one. It's what the 4-day meeting's all about. It's the Sky Bet Ebor Handicap. £300,000 to the winner of this race. One of the most valuable handicaps in the UK. Paul, who do you fancy?
I'm with Ever Present. All over Ever Present here, who won a competitive 23-runner handicap at Leopardstown on his final start last season. An experience that should stand to him here. Got pretty worked up in the stalls on seasonal reappearance at Dunroyal. Eventually finished 4th to 6th in a listed event. That run should have knocked the freshness off him. So Ever Present, I think, representing the top team with Jessica Harrington and Shane Foley.
Quite a strong shout there for Ever Present. Currently around the 10 to 1 mark, and also be played each way. But yeah, that was quite a bold statement. I like that, Paul. Frankie, for yourself?
It was short and sharp, wasn't it, from Paul there? He knew what he wanted.
Lesson this week.
He's on. He's definitely on.
Yeah, he likes it. Yeah, I do. I mean, it's a tricky one, isn't it? I think you can make a very strong case for the top 2 Irish raiders at the top of the market. Earl of Tyrone will be on a 4-time run, could still have bits in hand. My selection will be the second, another Joseph O'Brien trained Okita Sushi. Just make sure I've got this right. But yeah, second to Raise You at the Curragh, who then went on to actually be second to the favourite in this race, but gave away a bit of weight that day and didn't have the clearest of runs. So I'd probably still have Okita Sushi over the Fav off the back of that little bit of form. Raise You did then go on to win again as well. So marks that form up. Third to Cleveland, a really good horse. And also a bit of form mixed in with one of Jerloin's runners who I've noticed you've got the pair marked as well, James. So you were kind of thinking the same way here. License, that would be kind of my second bet if I had to pick one. So there's a bit of form mixed in there. But what's quite interesting about this latest run at Leopardstown from Okita Sushi, if you watch it back, was second by about 10 lengths, but the winner was another one of Joseph O'Brien's, and it had gone about 20 lengths clear by the three furlongs out. And I don't know, whether or not they were that arsed on catching it, who knows, but it could remain better handicapped as a result of it being beaten 10 lengths. So it only carries 9.8. Again, that claim was on board. And before that, having a nice little string of runs and then being beaten by another one of the stable's horses, I don't think it's the worst thing in the world. So Okita Sushi would be the main selection, and Jerloin's License would be my next best, who was beaten by Cleveland, who I mentioned earlier.
Yeah, I've judged the race there, and I've down this exactly the same line as you. And I'd probably say for me, License is my strongest selection out the two. Even though I'm going to play both of them each way. Obviously, there'll be extra places with different bookmakers. Just have to shop around. But yeah, I'll start with Okita Sushi, though. For the reasons you've mentioned exactly, it was that last run that really, really caught my fancy. And look, we know certain trainers have to do different things with different horses to try and get their handicap marks to be different for big pots like this. And I think that's exactly what Joseph O'Brien did. I don't know how the stewards didn't get involved with that last race at all, how far that went forward. Okita Sushi never wanted to win that race at all. To even get within 10 lengths of it was strange, because I think it could have been even further back. But to keep its mark of 106 coming into this race, I think Okita Sushi is better. He's very well handicapped coming into this off a mark of 106, and I think it's a better horse than that. And I just thought that run was strange enough to really catch my eye and go with it in this. And Joseph O'Brien is known for pulling off big race handicap wins like this with horses that are well handicapped. So that took my eye. But License was the biggest one of them all. And this is another bit of a plot job, I think, by the Irish. I'll be very surprised if the Irish don't take the Ebor this year. I know they've had a good record over the last few years, but yeah, and especially Girl Lions, who won the race not too long ago. But License for Juddmonte, obviously for Juddmonte Stables, it's a top horse. This trainer's got a great record. This jockey also, Gary Carroll, he's got an unbelievable record in this race. He's won it once with the Willie Mullins horse. He's ran 2 other times and placed in the event, which was very strange for me to see, because Gary Carroll was not a huge name, and for him to do this in the Ebor, I thought was quite taking. So he's obviously planning to come over and ride this horse. You look at it like automatic, and you think, why isn't Colin Keane coming over? But obviously with Gary Carroll's record, you can see why they put him on this horse. He's the son of Frankel, only been here 4 times. And I think especially this year, his career's been set up to go towards this race. Made his debut in June last year. He got off the mark over 9.5 furlongs at go and bolted up by 6 lengths. And they must have thought, bloody hell, we've got a good one here. We need to save him for quite a big part. And I know Girl Lions has done that in the past with these sort of horses. He obviously saved for this term. He kept under the radar, running over 10 furlongs on season debut at Naas, was second to Lafayette. Lafayette has been a great yardstick for that yard, and that was in the listed Du Bois Stakes. Next time out, the Courier went into the Group 2 Morsbridge Stakes and didn't run a race at all. I don't know what happened, but just finished 7th to 7th, ran no race at all. If you watch it back, didn't want to get involved, and just maybe just a blip on the day. Moved it to 12 furlongs last time in the Group 3 Ballyroan Stakes at Leopardstown, and if you look back at that race, I just think it was a perfect prep run for this. I don't think they were trying to win it. I thought they were happy where they finished. And the horse they're finishing behind, Gear Up, Cleveland, like you mentioned, Frankie, Cleveland's obviously a very good horse. And I wouldn't be surprised if that's not sent over to Australia for some of the big events over there towards the end of the year. But I just thought it was an eye-catching prep run off a marker 103 in this event. Was at the antipode stage 50 to 1 for this race. He's now currently trading around about 14 to 1. The money's obviously come. It's an ominous sign. I am behind license and would be my best selection in this. But I do like the Joseph O'Brien one, Oxysushi as well. So the final event of the afternoon on ITV is the Sky Bet Constantine Stakes, a very tricky punting event to finish with. Frankie, who's your last selection?
Spangled Mac, sticking with George Bowie and William Buick. They seem to be doing well this year when they pair up, particularly in handicaps. A few times I've been on and it's paid off, so I'm sticking with the pair. Spangled Mac strung up 4 victories in a row, just steadily improving before being beaten last time out at Ascot by a day in Asia, but another horse that's rapidly on the rise and kind of progressing through the handicap ranks. I think that was a 4-time before a day in Asia to go and win that race. Admiral D was a horse I tipped up last week, and another horse that's kind of rising through the handicap ranks. So I think just bumped into one there. And given that this horse is improving with every single run and comes here with only a £3 rise in official ratings, weighted 8 stone 11 as a 3-year-old, I think it's got to have a chance. And again, that strong booking of Buick on board for George Bowie in a handicap seems to be working out well this season. So around 10s I'm looking at now would be a nice each way bet, I think.
Yeah, it's amazing, this horse. And if you look back, winning off a mark of 74, now on a mark of 97, they must have known how much they had in hand with this horse, and they still might. So yeah, Spangled Mac around the 10 to 1 mark. Paul, I think you're a similar wavelength.
Yeah, with Frankie on this one for the reasons mentioned. She comes here in terrific form, ran a cracker despite being denied the 5-timer last time out. And as Frankie mentioned, the trainer-jockey combination has been pretty successful this season, which is interesting given that Neil Callaghan has also won on Spangled Mac, but I'm going to guess that Connections have opted for William Buick. Neil Callaghan incidentally rides the Marco Body Train Silver Samurai, but I think Spangled Mac has to be there or thereabouts.
Yeah, I've took a different approach in this race, and I have dutched this because I thought it was quite a difficult one. There will be a few each way angles into the race. The first one, you won't be surprised to hear, Paul. I tipped up Summergan last week at Ripon, and I can't get away from the old boy. I really am a huge fan of this horse, and he ran brilliantly last week to finish 4th. And I think now down £1 to a mark of 97, now officially £10 lower than his last winning mark. He's drawn well in stall 2. I just thought if he ran to a similar level or slightly better off that £1 lower, you cannot rule him out. And David O'Meara, he's obviously got some nice runners at York this week, and I think this has got a huge chance. So Summergan around the 10 to 1 mark, and an even bigger price, and a very chancy selection. But I just thought it was quite interesting. I've gone with chairman of the board for Mick Channon, and as I said, it's a tentative selection. He's 20 to 1. But I just thought he was very, very interesting, getting down to a very attractive mark at a track he gets on quite well with. And I just thought he could outrun his odds if you get some extra place with different bookmakers. But he was a good winner off a mark of 91 at Haydock in October last year in a 17-runner handicap. Before that, off 89, he was a short head second over course and distance behind Nomadic Empire, who's gone on to run really well this week. Apart from that, his form hasn't been to the best. I think he's gone 2 up on in the handicap, but he was a good third off 94 at Newmarket this season in a 19-runner handicap. He's got no problem with big fields, no problem with the hustle and bustle. As I said, he likes York. He's dropping down the handicap, and he's down to his last winning mark of 91. Just thought he was interesting and could probably run better than his odds of 20 to 1. So yeah, my main selection would be Summergan, but a little each way squeak, chairman of the board, might get involved. So, lads, that's all the races covered for this week's pod. You know what time it is now. It is nap time. And Paul, we'll give you the honour this week. Who are you going for?
Yeah, well, I was fairly sweet on the chances of Ever Present in the Ebor. Probably, well, I don't know. It's as hard a race as any, I think, that we've looked through. So I know it's a big field handicap, but I think Ever Present, I'll be disappointed now if he's not there or thereabouts.
Yeah, you had to put up Ever Present out of the way. You talked about it earlier. So, yeah, Ever Present for you. Frankie?
Yeah, it'd be hard to go in the Ebor, wouldn't it, and go against Paul now. I'll be looking at either of those 10-1 shots in the handicaps I put up. I'm probably going to stick with the Joseph O'Brien trained Nusret. As you mentioned, he's very good at getting them well handicapped for events like this. And I think it could just have a little bit in hand still over further.
So 2 10-1 shots. On mine's 9-2. I think I've got to go for Solcombe in that Melrose handicap, the way I talked about it earlier. Well handicapped, caught the eye last time out. And just if a little closer to the pace early on, I just think this horse goes and wins. And I think I tipped up Zachariah's man nap last week. Got a bit of an easy lead, but looking for 2 out of 2. So hopefully we can build some momentum there. Frankie, nice to have you back on the pod this week. Obviously,
Good to be back.
So nice to have you back. Paul, lovely to have you as ever. Hopefully we found some winners for you guys. Please be sure to like this video. Comment your selections below for the weekend for the 7 race on ITV and subscribe to the Winners Enclosure channel with plenty of other racing content to get involved in. All the best this week then, lads, and hopefully we found some winners.